Hello, Anna at the Sewing Studio here, and in this video I am going to demonstrate to you the Bernina 325 sewing machine. I'm going to talk you through all its features and functions, show you everything that comes in the box, get it threaded, do some sewing, show you its capabilities, and then talk a bit about warranty and support. So we've split all of those into different chapters, so if you only want to see the sewing section, for instance, just head straight to there. So the Bernina 325S is what we call a standard size machine. So you've got 6 inches of space to the right of the needle. It's very simple to use with all these buttons on the front here. Now it seems like there's quite a lot, but they do all have a purpose. So there's 97 stitches on this machine, and they comprise of utility stitches, stretch stitches, a couple of decorative options, a buttonhole, as well as an alphabet. And they're easily selected with the numbers down here, and you have a stitch chart that corresponds to those numbers to use, and I'll show you that when we get to the sewing section. You have the ability to change the width and the length of the stitch with these buttons here, and the maximum width on this machine that you can achieve is 5.5 millimeters, and the maximum length is 5 millimeters. There's also these 2 buttons in the middle here, and this is to change your needle position. So if you were sewing a zip, for instance, and you wanted to get nice and close to the teeth, you can just move your needle where you need it to be. You've got a needle up down button that you can program that the needle either stays in when you finish sewing or it comes up again, your choice. And a pattern end, so when you're sewing one of the more decorative stitches, you can press that one when you're nearing the end, it will finish a whole stitch before it stops sewing. Now, being computerised, you have the option of whether you want to operate it with the foot pedal, it does come with one, or the start-stop button, but either way you have the ability to control your speed with this slider here. And the maximum speed that you can achieve on this machine is 900 stitches per minute. So it's got a nice powerful motor in there, and it will cope with various different types of fabric as well. It's got a built-in needle threader to help you thread the eye of the needle, and you can drop the feed dog so you can do any kind of free motion work. There's no screws to the needle plate, it just flips up, so it's nice and easy to keep everything clean. Along with the bobbin, which is in the front here, that all comes out and disassembles nice and easily so you can keep it all cleaned and oiled. Pop that back up. It has a nice small free arm for sewing hems and cuffs and things. It also comes with an extension table that just slides on the top to give you a bit more room to work. Now the feet and accessories that come with the machine, the feet on this machine are, let me just take that off for you, are a snap-on type. So firstly you have the shank that accepts all of the different feet, and then you've got what Bernina call a reverse pattern sole, but it's kind of your standard zigzag foot. And then you also have an overlock sole, one for zips or piping, an adjustable blind hem, and then one for the buttonhole, and a range of accessories. And lastly, you have the power lead, foot control, an instruction manual, and then a nice handy branded accessory case to keep all the feet and everything that come with the machine. So next, I'm going to show you how to thread the machine, and we'll do some sewing. So to thread the needle, you just want to pop the spool cap off, pop your thread on the spool pin, and then pop the cap back on. And you don't want to clamp that too tight because it still needs to spin, so just let it move freely. And then you're following the arrows to thread the needle. So you go, whoops, underneath that one, down through the tension discs, in and around. Now I can see that the take-up lever isn't there for me to thread, so I'm just going to use this button to drop the needle down, and then back up again. And then you can see the take-up lever is now there. So I'm just going to go from right to left, back and forth, and it needs to pop in the front there. And then you come down in this guide, and then the last one at the very top of the needle. Now because we've already used the needle up, needle down button, the needle will be in the right position for the needle threader. I'm just going to drop the presser foot to give me a bit more room. and you just bring it down as far as it will come. But what I like to do when you're about halfway is put it around that kind of pillar there, then come all the way down, in through there. Support this thread, don't hold it too tight because it needs to draw it back. So as you let go with this hand, let go with that one, and you can see it's then drawn the thread through the eye of the needle that we can just pull through. Oh, I've got so much thread. Let's just cut that off on the cutter there. Pop the presser foot up and then just go under the presser foot. Now for the bobbin, you just want to pull the lever and take out the case. I've already got one in here. Now this machine uses Bernina only metal bobbins. Those are the only ones that you want to use. They get the best results and obviously they fit for the machine. You want the tail of thread to the right and then pop that in, go up through the slit, under the plate, and then pop it back in. And you want this arm at the very top and you just push it in until you hear the click, and then you can get the thread and you can just nick it off on the little cutter there and shut the door. You can start sewing now. You don't have to draw up the bobbin thread. You can if you want to, obviously, but you don't have to. When you switch the machine on, it'll always default to stitch number 1, which is this one here, which is your standard straight stitch. So let's sew that out a minute. Now I'm not using the foot pedal, I'm going to use the start stop button, and at the moment I'm on the slowest speed, so I'm just going to make a start, and then to reverse, just keep your finger on the button for as far back as you want to go, and then let go and it will come forward again. So as you can see, slow is really quite slow, it's quite manageable. So we'll go up to midway, and then up to top. Lovely. And there's your straight stitch, that's the top, and then underneath. So to change to a different stitch, so these are kind of direct presses, if you like, up to number 10 here. And then after that you move on to the stitch chart. But let's sew a zigzag a second before we move on to that. So I've just pressed number 2, so now it's telling me number 2. And then this here is showing me the width of the stitch, so it's on number 3. And this is showing me the length of the stitch here, which is about 1.8, I suppose. This symbol here is telling me that at the moment I've got the needle set so that when I stop sewing, it comes up. And I do that purposely so that it then comes up and I can quite freely pull the threads out. So I'll drop that in, and then let's just go midway. So that's your standard zigzag. So then we can alter the width and the length of this. So if we want to go nice and wide, we just move the arrow to the right, and you can see it's coming up to number 5 there. And then the length, let's drop the length down and see what that looks like. And then let's flip that. So let's take the width right down and keep your finger on it and increase the length to about 4. And you can see then how you can obtain different stitches by changing the width and length of the stitch. And that's the underside there. So to move on to the stitches that are on the chart here, let's take a look at one of the more decorative ones. So let's do the Greek key here. So this is number 32. So you're going to press the hash for number and then type 3 and 2. And then you can see it's stitch number 32. So I'm going to make a start with that. And you can see there I press the pattern end, and the pattern end symbol then comes up on the screen. So what it will have done is it would have carried on sewing until it's finished the complete pattern on that Greek key there. So if I pull that out, there you can see it's finished there. So it just takes the guesswork out of when you're ending your row of stitches, of not kind of ending up with half a stitch there. For the alphabets, they're not used with this keypad here. They are up here with the A here. And you can very simply just stitch out a row of one letter if you want to, or you can memorise a sequence of letters to do a name. So for instance, let's stitch out the word Bernina. So the first thing you want to do is hit the memory, and then it's telling you how many spaces you've got, so we can do 30 letters maximum. So then choose the stitch that you want. So if I go into the fonts and scroll across, I need B first. And then you want to press sort of the memory enter to say, yes, I want to do that one. And you can see I've now taken up one slot and there's 29 left. So let's move on to E, memory, R, if I know my alphabet, memory, N, memory, I, whoops, oh, wrong one, I, N, should have chosen a shorter name, shouldn't I? And then A. There we go. And then if you want to check back through for your spelling, you can just go back this way. So A-N-I-N-R-E-B. So B-E-R-N-I-N-A. Lovely. Now you want to make sure you go back to the beginning, else it will start on the letter A. So we want to start from the letter B. And what I'm going to do, because I only want to write the word once, as soon as it starts sewing, I'm going to press the pattern end, and then it will finish at the end of the word Bernina. If I didn't do that, it would just carry on sewing a row of Bernina, 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 Bernina. And you can program any stitches in a, what am I trying to say, in a combination. So that's why it carries on. So if you wanted to do, I don't know, the Greek keys and then some stars or something, you can program those in as well. You just choose the number of your stitch into the memory. But let's stitch out the word Bernina. There we go. And there you've got your nice neat Bernina. Now each letter is secured, so if you wanted to take out these little joining stitches with your seam ripper, then you can, and nothing's going to unravel. And that's the underside. It's a nice neat font for a sewing machine on here. Now, I'm conscious that I said to you that I like to have the needle coming up, but I didn't actually tell you how you program that. So let's go back to the standard straight stitch. Now I don't want the memory on anymore, and I don't need the pattern end on anymore at all. So at the moment the needle position is in the up position. So when I stop sewing, the needle comes up. If I want it to come down, it's just a quick press on the needle up down button, and you can see that's now in the down position. So when I stop sewing, the needle stays down. So if you're going around a corner, it's nice and easy to then just keep it down and pivot around without moving the piece of fabric. could sew a box, but I didn't stop in time. But that's the difference between the needle being up or the needle being down, and it's very easy just to switch between the two, so you can set it per project. Let's move on to the buttonhole. So I'm going to pop the buttonhole foot on, pop that one off, and then snap this one on. So you just want to line up this bar with the bottom of the foot, drop the presser foot down, and then it snaps on. So we're going to choose the buttonhole, which is 0 here, which is stitch number 10. Now what you want to do is pop your button on your fabric, well, it's a good idea to, and then put a little mark. This pen's not going to show on this fabric very well, is it? Put a little mark either side of where you want the buttonhole to start and the buttonhole to finish. And then I like to just draw a line between the two. Sorry, I've got the complete wrong fabric and complete wrong pen combination here for you to see that. But that gives you an idea then of where you want your buttonhole. And you always want it slightly bigger than the button so that it goes through the hole with ease. And then you'll see now that up here, this is flashing. The buttonhole symbol is flashing. And that's because we're going to program the buttonhole to the size that we want it. So you just want to line up the start of your buttonhole in the window there. Oh, actually, I've forgotten. You thread the bobbin slightly differently for this because it has a feature where you can give the buttonhole higher tension, and it just makes the beads either side a bit more rounded and gives a nicer result. So there's a little hole in the arm of the, well, I call it an arm of the bobbin case there, and you just want to pop the thread through that hole. Can be a little bit fiddly. I might just wet the end of that. There it goes. And pull it through. And then the bobbin sits in exactly the same way as before. Click it into place. And you can cut that off there. So then pop your fabric in, and you just want to line it up with the mark that you placed at the back of the buttonhole, so the top of it there, because it's going to sew it first down this way. So you just make a start, and then you stop it when you see your mark. So that's about there. And then you want to press the reverse button. And then you want to stop it where you started and then press the reverse button again, and it will now do the bar tacks at the back and come down. And then you want to stop where you finished last time, press the reverse again, and then do the bar tacks at the front. Pop the needle up. And there's your nice neat buttonhole. That's the underneath. So we'll look at a different type of fabric now in a stretch jersey. So I'm going to pop the standard sole back on. I need to undo the extra tension on the bobbin, so you can just literally pull that out of there and pop it back in again, she says. Cut that off on there. And I'm going to pop a jersey needle in. Now this machine takes standard fitment needles, so they've always got the flat back to the back, flat bit to the back. And you just push it up as far as it will go, and then with your needle threader in there and under the foot. So I've got some jersey stretch fabric here, just from an old t-shirt, so I'm going to choose the triple straight stitch for this fabric. I'm going to drop my needle in. And you can see how that's sewn that really nicely. There's not really waviness there. And you can stretch the fabric with it and the seam too. And lastly, we'll sew with some thicker fabric. So I've got some denim here. So I've popped a jeans needle in. I'm just going to take the speed down slightly. So I'm just going to go back to a standard straight stitch. And because this is thicker than like the cotton that we were using, I'm going to increase the stitch length slightly, only to about 3 millimeters. So I'm going to pop that in, drop the needle in. Actually change that back to up because I don't need it to stay in. And that's sewn through that really well. It's nice and neat both sides and the seam is secure. So this is quite a thin denim, so let's fold it over and go through 4 layers, which is probably more like 2 layers of a sort of standard thickness denim. And again, it's gone through that no problem at all. Nothing skipped. Nice and secure. So let's double that over again. So we've now got 8 layers of this fabric. And this time I'm just going to increase the stitch length again just by 1/2 mil. Now Bernina machines have what's called hammer mode. It's nothing you need to do, it just does it automatically. So when it's going through thicker fabrics, the needle, you don't really see it unless you take a video and slow it right down, but the needle vibrates to get through the layers of the fabric and make sure that nothing is skipped. And you can see that was just feeding through on its own. I was just making sure I was keeping it straight. Again, it's nice and neat, nothing skipped. That's the bottom there. And it's still lovely and secure. So this machine comes with 7 years warranty, and in the box you'll find this card that explains it to you, and this is how you register your machine with Bernina as well. And once registered, you'll get offered a free day's tuition in their London headquarters, where you can go and learn everything that there is to know about this machine. It's a really fun day. And don't forget, we're here at the sewing studio as well for any help, advice or support that you might need with your new machine. So I hope now we've come to the end of the video that I've managed to demonstrate to you the capabilities of the Bernina 325 sewing machine to help you decide whether it's the right machine for your needs. If so, head on over to our website and grab yours now. Delivery is fast and it's free. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.